Mark 7, verses 31 through 37. Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and went through Sidon, down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of the Decapolis. There some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. After he took him aside, away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ear. Then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven and with a deep sigh said to him, "Ephphatha," which means "be opened." At this, the man's ears were opened, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly. Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone. But the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. "He has done everything well," they said. "He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak." I've heard it said that if you don't come out of quarantine with a project done or a skill perfected, then you weren't on top of things, or you weren't doing things well enough, or you weren't using your time wisely. And honestly, that sounds attractive to me. I want to work on projects. I want to get things done. The fact that my car's needed oil change is done on them, the grass needs mowed, projects need done, things need painted. Yeah, sure, I want to do those things. But it's such our instinct to try and do so many things well. We like to think that we can be Renaissance men and women, people that can do all things, and not just do all those certain things, but do things well. I know for me personally, I get really frustrated when I can't do something. I, in the fall, started swimming with my friend consistently. And before that, all I could do was really doggy paddle and not much more. When I got in the pool, it was really frustrating that I couldn't swim well at all. I couldn't even breathe well now that I was in water. So it was really frustrating for me that I couldn't do it well. And it's really frustrating when I can't do other things well. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I was young to get good grades, to keep up with things, to succeed, right, to accomplish. And it's funny, so funny that as a Christian that I would want accomplishment and that I would want to succeed, when in the background, should be the foreground, but it too often is in the background, I know that Jesus has succeeded, that he has accomplished. Right? He tells us on the cross that it's accomplished. Here in Mark chapter 7 today, we see Jesus accomplishing another piece of his ministry in his miracles, in healing this man with a speech impediment and who is deaf. And I would love to go into the details of what him healing this man's speech and hearing means. But I think reactions of the people are interesting as well. They, from this, don't say, truly this is the Son of God. They don't decide to give their lives in devotion to Jesus. They say, he has done all things well. That's their observation. Guys, too often our observations are based upon people's performance. We look for things that are done well. We look for things that look nice, right? Aesthetically pleasing things are a big trend right now. Even when I was designing our apartment, I was trying to think of what looks good here, what fits here, and that is a huge trap of our time right now. Is that we look for things that fit, that are right, things that are done well, right? We look for quality a lot of the time. And there's some good in that, because we should be looking for those, but we give them too much. We make them ultimate things. These people's observation is the same, comes from the same heart that we have when we're observing things and seeing if they're done well. We observe ourselves and see if we do things well. If we don't, we find disappointment, right? How well do you deal with rejection? Can show you a lot of how much you expect of yourself. These are the things that we look for. And these are the eyes, the sinful eyes that we have, the sinful hearts that we have that seek pleasure and seek pleasing others. But it's not a heart that God has given us. If you notice Jesus in this passage, He has one request for the people, and it's been a request all through Mark so far. He charges them to tell no one. And as I read Jesus's charges more and more to not tell anyone about what he's doing, I don't think that Jesus was under the impression, I don't think Jesus is dumb. I don't think he thought that no one's going to be told. I think he knew that people were going to be told. But Jesus's heart is for secrecy and hiddenness. Jesus's heart is for humility. Jesus's heart is that he would not yet be known until the time has come for him to be known. And that's so different from ours. Our heart is to be known at all costs. Our heart is to seek every accomplishment, recognition, right? How hard it is when we aren't recognized, when we feel like we've done things all correctly, or when we feel like we deserve recognition. Jesus deserved recognition for these things, but Jesus did not receive recognition. You know what he received? If we look further on, he received mockery. He received a flogging. He received torture. He received death. For the things Jesus accomplished, he really didn't receive the things that we think he should, or the things that maybe we think we should receive when we accomplish something. So I want you to be thinking about our performance. What sort of ways are we performing? Maybe we think that we're performing well and that's a good thing, and we feel happy when that's happening, when all things are going smooth and we're running at full speed. But how long can you do that? How long can you rely on yourself? There have been too many points where I've relied only on myself and only on my power and ability, and I've thought I can do things well. I've thought that, and I like thinking that. It feels good to think that. But we do not do things well. We have not done things well. We have betrayed God, and that shows us exactly that. Jesus has done all things well. But even if he had not, why is that the thing that we're looking for? Why is that the thing that you and I desire? It's so different from Jesus. Jesus wants a way that's hidden and low, and these people, us, we want a way that is high and lifted up, when in reality it should be completely reversed and ends up being so.